Dinobots, destroy Devastator! Me, Grimlock, love challenge!
Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the GigaPower Gigasource Superator HQ-01R, their take on a very G1-esque, slightly stylized version of Grimlock. And I did get this to show, so I'm going to have a link down below. I do say that this is a great figure. I do have a minor QC issue with mine. I'll go into that when we get into it. Coming up. All right, looking at the box, it does look like a standard GigaPower box, and some flames, and you see the actual item, and then a drawing on the side, and then on the back. You can see both modes 2 times each. There you go. And here he is. He is a big guy, a big boy. And with GigaPower, you definitely feel like you sort of get your money's worth just because of the size, because of the aesthetic, and the paint and the chrome and all of that. He does look really good overall. There's a lot of weight and heft and die cast to this guy too, just like with all of them. And so with that, I'm actually quite impressed. And I do want to say the only reason I even picked him up is because I've had several viewers say that the one that I'm using is Grimlock is not as good as either of the other options, whether this one or the Fans Toys, that I really should pick one of them. And since I'm going all GigaPower, might as well finish it up. And this is the chrome version, and of course I like the chrome, so that's kind of how he looks. Now looking at the back here, we do have these arms that are packed separate. They're just ball joints. You pop them in. Let me make sure I got the right one on the right side here. I believe this one goes on this side, so we'll pop it in. It's a lot of work there. And then kind of put it in like so. Do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. So there we have our GigaPower Superator. Okay, so looking at him, there's his head. The head looks great. Looks like a Grimlock head. You got a reflective visor in there. And then you have this separate crown that works too, that goes on there. Now, I'm surprised that the crown isn't like the shiny, reflective kind of vac metallized look of the gold as the rest of it. So that is a little bit of a disappointment, but you do get the crown, so that's kind of cool. You also get a second head that appears to be the exact same thing, except with the red visor or red eyes, so you can get the toy look out of it if that's what you want, and that works. A lot of other companies would have tried to figure out a way to just give you the eyes to swap out, and you have to like disassemble the whole head to swap out the eyes. So nice that you can just pop it on and off, and it does pop on and off nice and easy. Too easy if you ask me, but there it is. And then moving on down, we do have super nice chrome here. Now this is one thing you have to do is kind of pop this piece on. It just pops on, and as you can see, it comes with the Autobot symbol from Shozi. Shozi includes these with almost everything right now, so that's kind of cool. So get a few of those so you can sticker up everything if you'd like. Kind of got away from stickering it up. I might get back to it pretty easy. This nice red. Now it's a red shiny paint. It looks as good as the vac metallized chrome, but I know it's just paint. It's not vac metallized red. Is there a vac metallized red? And then you got some silver paint down there. And then moving on down here to the legs. And so with this, it's kind of like a bit of a shiny silver. I don't want to call it metallic, but it does feel metallic. Although their definition of metallic is a more muted look whenever they call it metallic. It's strange. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't have any of their metallic ones anymore. I kind of stick with the chrome, but I do think it looks pretty clean. It looks pretty good. The transformation is, of course, similar to a lot of the other ones. Getting into the rest of accessories, he does come with his gun, which does look pretty good. It looks very standard as a Grimlock gun, and there it is. Now, I don't think the gun lights up, but I know the sword does. But you've got the double barrel look. You have transparent, translucent, clear pieces on it. And these two side barrels, you can pop them off if you want to for whatever reason. Mine fell off, just messing around with it, but then it pops right back on. Then you've got the sword. Now it does light up, kind of like we see with swoops, but I'm running low on those button batteries, and I really haven't been stocking back up on them. And if it doesn't come with it, I'm not really too concerned about it these days. But I'll show you swoops. Yeah, it's been a while. These are some old batteries, but they still light up. Just like Swoop's, his lights up the same way, the button on the bottom. And of course, Swoop was my favorite Dinobot, and the reason that I switched to GigaPower was getting this guy and realizing just how awesome he was. All right, real fast, let's get into articulation. The head kind of moves around on the ball joint. The shoulders go out to about there, and then of course you get the 360, and then you have a ridiculously tight ratchet right here, which makes absolutely no sense. Double jointed elbow that doesn't really feel like it's double jointed. I'm wondering if I can find a sweet spot to get a little more out of it than that, but I can't find it. It would look like you could do more with that elbow. And then the hands now, the hands are, I really hate taking a sword out, but the hands are a lot of points of articulation on them, and they're individually pinned so that they can splay. Now this is my one QC issue. I have a pin that fell out. I had 3 pins fall out, and I lost one, I guess. I found 2 pins, put them back in, I inserted them a little bit better, but the little finger, now I've lost a finger. So one tip of a finger fell off of mine, and so they splay. And so that kind of sucks. I can get a pin back in there. I'm sure I'll find the pin and put it back in there. I put the pin back in on some of the other ones, but I've never heard of this being a problem with this company before, and I have every other one, so it's never heard of it being a problem on this figure either, so it's probably just a one-time deal. You got the side-to-side. I don't feel an ab crunch. And then you've got these hip flaps in here, tight out to the side. I wonder if he could support himself and do like a high kick. I bet you with the right maneuver there, you can get him to support himself on a high kick. I think that's like a sign of quality there in articulation. He does a little weak in the knees there. It does go about that far forward and about this far to the back. Thigh swivel, which is kind of old school, and this is an old school design. This thing's not like it's brand new or anything. The knee goes about to there, and it's not double jointed. Now, one thing I noticed about the knees is that you can kind of give it a little bit of a, if you got a wider stance, you can give them a little bit of this going on, if that's something you want. And instead of just being straight, you can give it just a little bit of this, and it gives them a little bit more stability. So I think that's kind of cool. It does look all right, depending on how you do it. You don't want to over-exaggerate it and do it like this, but instead of just straight, a slight tilt to it. So that can work, and that's something that I noticed that I think it kind of looks pretty cool. It looks pretty natural overall. And then down here, the toes, there's a little bit of, it's strange because as you articulate it, it all moves around like so. So that's pretty cool too. So decent articulation. I wouldn't say it's massive articulation, but probably more than I'll ever use. All right, so getting into comparisons, there's going to be a lot of big comparisons here because he's a big dude. But starting out with G1, he towers over the G1 and looks so much better, so much like the show, so much more like you would expect. Here is next to last month's flavor of the month, Blaster. This is the Fansways recorder and the deformation space. And so that's how that looks for some blasters. Try to pick some big guys to compare it to. So there he is next to Takara's Ultra Magnus and Magic Square's Optimus Prime. Big dudes, and he's still bigger. Barely. I was debating how to make this shot work because they are so big, so I'm going to go a little bit shaky cam here, but this is how it looks as the whole team of all the GigaPower, all chrome GigaPower figures are huge. Now I display mine side by side, elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, and so you can see them a little bit better, and they're in the back and they're bigger than everything else. That's kind of how I do it. So cramming them in a smaller space. Well, my review space is actually pretty big in my opinion, but they're so big you need to have the appropriate amount of space to properly and adequately display them. So I want to talk for just a second about the difference between the Reximus Prime here and the Superator. Now, I've had Reximus Prime as my representation of a Masterpiece Grimlock for a long time. I did have the original Takara. This is a KO oversize of the Takara. And you can get the EX version of this at Show Z right now. Now, as it stands, this is sold out at Show Z. I'm reviewing it, but I ordered it, and by the time it showed up, it's sold out. So it's one of those things. I'm sure GigaPower will put another run out down the road, so it's not that big of a deal. But I would still recommend this if you're just looking for one and you want a cheap one. It's like $89 at Show Z for the EX version. But this one is lighter weight, really little to no die cast. This thing is heavy duty. The ratchets are really solid on this, except the knees are just a little bit too loose for all of the weight that's going on. The knees should have been a little bit stronger on this guy, and it just feels like a much higher end premium figure. It is double the price of this, so I mean, just looking at it like that. But they both look good. They both get the job done. But this does have the advantage of being about 6 years later in production than what Takara did, and all they did with the KO is upscale it. They did not really do any improvements that I know of, and I think the EX does pop better on the shelf though, so than what I have here. But anyway, I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. All right, so getting into transformation of this guy, just kind of pull everything off there. We're gonna slide these out, and then it's strange because then you can pull the arms out, and then this starts to slide down. So that's kind of cool. And then we're going to get into the hands. You can fold this up and then fold the hands in, and that can come back down, and you've got some Grimlock feet. And then over here, same thing. Hide away the hands. Nice and easy. I didn't show that one. Okay, hide the hands in here. Basic stuff that we continually do all of the time. And then we're going to rotate this over and push it in. Let's see. Probably easier to do it like that. Those are some tight. And that's why they're so tight, because they're turning to the legs. So let's fold this up. Bring that up, back out, and then into here. And so we have the legs. I form the legs. So then we have the back part here. We can fold the head over because it's going to come into position. And where does this head go? Okay, they're going to slide this back up like so this can come around and clear everything and not mess anything up. All right, trying to keep it all. This is turning into a really tall coverage here with this guy to try to get all this in frame still. And kind of folding this over, getting it over the leg, and not scraping any of the back metallized chrome as we're going here. And is everything lined up just right? Feels like something's sticking. Yes, you definitely want to push these back so that they can clear. It felt like something was a bit off, but now it's better. So let's get this closed up. And it almost looks like you got a Grimlock if you pan out and you can kind of see. Okay, so right now we're with this standing Grimlock for the most part. We're going to put the legs up so that they can support the weight, because they're going to start supporting the weight soon. Then we get down here and do the tail. So getting him down here for the tail. So the first thing you want to do is kind of rotate the legs to the outside. So invert the legs a bit. Let's see if we can go down a little bit more here. And then we're going to open this piece here. And then we're going to unhook a tab right in here and then bring all of this stuff here out. There's a tab holding that in. So again, be really careful because of the vac metallized chrome that we have going on. We can pull this tail out, then rotate it, and then open it up and kind of put it right in its place. I guess it's just going to stay in the rotation area. Then this is going to fold out to here, fold this in, and get that in its place. That's fold it all the way out like that. Okay, so then we're going to bring it in, and we're going to need to do a couple of things here, but we're going to fold this around, and this piece here is going to rotate around and just set up like so we can plug it in here in a bit, and then fold this around to where it folds in nicely. Make it all sort of match up to making it look right. Does that look right? That looks right. Then we're going to put this tail piece in place, clip it in place, fold it out, like so. Do the same thing on the other side. And fold this part here out. There's like a tab in there. And then we're going to untab this little bitty tab here so that we can bring this down. And then we're going to fold this out right here and around. And then we can fold this out. Am I getting all that? All this can come out and then fold to here. Fold this tab in so nothing happens to it. And then we got the tail. And then we're going to fold this piece here. Start folding the leg around. Flip this piece here around. And then kind of finish lining up and folding up this leg into it. Kind of a strange angle because the tail kind of angling up a bit, so. And then this is going to come up, go in place. So I got it from the bottom here, how this kind of tabs in. Tab this into here, and then we're tabbing everything into itself, and into itself, and into itself, and then the tail so it has the articulation into each one of the tail points, and then we're going to tab these pieces up top here in, and it looks like I got to realign them just a little bit to get them to tab in, and we're pretty much done with this guy. I'm going to take a quick look at him, see if I've got a few other tabs to tab in, and then we're going to see how he looks and do some comparisons. All right, here's Superator in his Dino Mode, and he looks really good. Really fantastic. And see, that's the thing about Dinobots is that a lot of people display them in their Dino Modes because they have so much personality. They spent so much time in the show in their Dino Modes, and dinosaurs sell. So I don't know if is he almost as tall as the Jurassic Park funded gate? He's pretty close. It's not quite as tall as that, but would the gate stop him? No, not at all. Now, I love a lot of things about this, but before we get into that, I want to say that I was surprised. So, in my transformation, I just didn't realize how high up this needed to be to clip in, so I had it a little bit low. I just clipped it in up higher. I guess I should have filmed that, but in my just kind of looking around at it and seeing how it looked, it just needed to go up a little higher to clip in a little bit better, make those back pieces fit in. But aside from that, I don't know. It just seems like the tail was too high at that point, but now that you look at him in this mode, it does look like it makes sense. It looks like it makes sense. Yeah, it looks right. It looks right. It does, definitely does. But if you can see as I move this, the light just glistening off of vac metallized chrome parts. I do love that we have the clear plastic like we see with the G1 toy. I do love that we have the vac metallized arms that so I thought they were die cast, but they don't feel like die cast, but they have the chromed look to them, so I'm happy with that. And then he has some chrome in his mouth there, and he has like a little double barrel. Is it double barrel? No, single barrel. He's got like a gun for a tongue. That's Grimlock. Fun at parties. And I don't think this one has the eye swap gimmick like some of the other ones, so I don't see how to do the eye swap gimmick on this guy. But yeah, teeth nice and sharp, and it's shiny, vac metallized inside of his mouth is what it looks like to me, or it's just highly reflective paint. You do have the gold underneath there. Now that's not vac metallized underneath it, but it wouldn't really do much more because it would kind of block the glisten because of the plastic. But you do have some transparent pieces and some green metallic paint, red metallic paint, blue metallic paint. Just looks beautiful overall. Works really well. Actually, a phenomenal Dino Mode. Just outstanding. You do have articulation in these arms, so ball joint, and then you have, I popped my ball joint out. I'm fun at parties, huh? Pops out easier than it pops back in. Okay, pops in easy on that side. And then you have very, very tight joint right here, and then you have the claws. Individually articulated claws, and then you have the hand with articulation, and everything's really tight, which is kind of good, but you end up feeling like you're putting a lot of pressure on it. So, but yeah, legs are the same articulation as the shoulders, so pretty much, and arms and all that. So we kind of been through all that before, but looking really good. Let's go ahead and get into some comparisons. Now, you didn't even have to ask me because I already knew it. The first thing you think of when you think of Grimlock is Wheelie. Yeah, this is the X-Transbots Wheelie. I like this X-Transbots Wheelie. I'm sure someone else will eventually make a better one, but for now, he's the king, and he's not even the only third-party Wheelie. But anyway, that's how he looks with Wheelie. Here he is next to the G1, and in case like my background kind of gets in the way, you can't really see what's going on. This is the G1 right here. That's it. That little guy right there. This is so much bigger than the G1. It's just insane. By the way, the KO Oversized Legends figure is the same exact size as the G1. So if you get the McFans Toys Dinobot, it is the same size. Those Dinobots are the same size as G1s. For the most part, maybe give or take plus or minus like 3% error. Here's Grimlock playing around with some MMC cassettes. That's how big the cassettes are, but that's how big he is. He can hold the bird like it's no problem, so big dude. This is the KO MP44, probably similar to what the toy look's going to be from Takara, but I think Takara is going to have back metal right here, because that's my belief. We don't know yet from pictures. Anyway, the Fans Toys and Fans Toys, just to kind of get a look at how he scales, how he looks, how he fits in, and this feels right. This actually feels correct. Size, scale from the G1 cartoon. Alright, so this is my look at the GigaPower Superator, their version of a G1S Grimlock, and he is the Chrome version, and he finishes off my GigaPower collection. Finally, after all these years, I finally decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, and I'm very happy and satisfied that I did. I would have liked the crown to be back metallized chrome, gold. I would have liked to not have the issue with my fingers. I never heard of anyone else having a problem with their fingers, but I had a problem with mine. I also think the knees should have had a bit stronger of ratchets. Now, I don't have any trouble holding poses, but you move around too much, you can tell that they're just a little bit looser than they should be. Maybe I can tighten that screw, but it's not going to be an issue for me on my shelf because, as you can see, he stands fine once he's in a pose, but I don't want to risk that. I do think he looks good overall. Transformation is relatively simple, acceptable, like you're used to seeing, and yeah, pretty good figure overall. GigaPower does a good job with all of their figures. But I'm going to put a link down below where you can get yours at ShowZ. Sadly, he's sold out. They may come back in stock because GigaPower does constant reissues of this because it's pretty much all that they do is make Dinobots for the most part. It would be nice to see them make some other figures that aren't getting made out there. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you have this guy? Do you have the Reximus Prime? Do you have the Fans Toys version? Because I don't. Like, subscribe to Dino Mode.
Dinobots transform!
Nice Dino, good Dino, sweet Dino, won't you step into the nice spaceship for blood? Pretty please, pretty please. Nice Dino, good Dino, with sugar on top and a cherry and some whipped cream. Nice Dino, good Dino, sweet Dino.
Me, Grimlock, not nice Dino. Me, best friends. Tell Grimlock about Petro Rabbits again. I'll give you Petro Rabbits. Contact!